Allow me to begin by inviting you to talk on this first Cyprus-United States strategic dialogue held in Nicosia today. I would like to ask you, to what extent are you satisfied with the outcome of this first dialogue, and which are those practical steps for the way forward?
Yeah, no, thank you, and thank you for highlighting it. It sounds like a boring thing that only government bureaucrats would think is exciting. But having a dialogue of this kind, structured and strategic, shows how far the relationship between Cyprus and the United States has deepened. And I'm incredibly encouraged by what we are doing together. Cyprus is a very important partner for us, not just because of what's happening on the island, but because it helps us address economic opportunities, but also threats and other concerns that all our citizens should have around here and throughout the region. So this is a great moment in the relationship. The particular things that we are working on are just a few examples. We're covering the gamut of things that help people be safer, be more connected to each other, be more prosperous, and to promote the values that Cyprus and the United States share. So there's a whole range of items. Just a few things. I mean, one is we are increasing our cooperation through what is called Cyclops, which is a regional training center. And we learned today it's already trained more than 3 times the people that it anticipated in the first year. It's people from more than 20 countries have come to learn how to cooperate in facing the security threats that come at Cyprus and that affect U.S. interests in the region. So migration, terrorism, just danger on the high seas, all of these things we're now working on together. So that's very exciting. The second thing we are doing is actually, while we're speaking here, Cyprus will sign the Artemis Accords, which is a pledge will cooperate on space exploration. So this is a group of now, I think, almost 50 countries who are cooperating in this, and it will produce real scientific breakthroughs and real economic opportunity. So that's another thing we're doing together. And we're talking about how we can bring our people closer together. So we've just announced an increase in a part of the Fulbright program, famous U.S. program, that will bring...
Used by many Cypriots, actually, during these
yes.
the last decades.
This is it. And it will come now here and help bring English teaching assistants here. So again, it's another way that we're bringing our people closer to one another. And the list goes on. But the most important thing in this kind of dialogue is we're building the habits of cooperation that go into a really deep friendship and partnership. I was overwhelmed this morning by the number of times different people in the groups would say, we're already working on this, we're already talking to these people about this issue. And so the cooperation is, there were dozens of people today, all of whom have a good working relationship. And that's a great foundation for the future.
This strategic dialogue will be repeated once a year. Yeah. But as I understand, there is a roadmap
yes.
To follow on different subjects and areas of discussion.
Yeah.
When do you think the people will see the tangible results of this dialogue?
I think you're already seeing some. Just as one example, we have built up very good cooperation on threats to Cyprus. So when we see a threat brewing, whether it's a cyber threat or a digital threat or weather, something else, we share that information, and we've already seen it be used by the government of Cyprus to respond quickly to threats, to be able to tell people when to get to safety. All these things, that's already happening. And we're just looking now to make that routine so that we're always working together, and then so that we can work in anticipation of problems. So another example, we have been working together very well in the last few years against financial crime and sanctions evasion. These are not the kinds of businesses that one wants in a country. We already cooperate well and have seen many of these businesses stop working here. We're now learning how to work together so we can address the underlying crimes, even if the people skip from Cyprus. We can share information and a sense of the right way to go look for them so we can stop their activities, which can include financing traffic in narcotics, trafficking in people, sanctions evasion, all kinds of bad behavior. We're putting a new resident legal advisor here just to work on these issues. We have an FBI agent stationed permanently here now to work with Cypriot law enforcement. So all of these things are happening every day, and people may see some bits of them, but it's already making the islands.
But you did see progress to that direction.
Yes, absolutely.
And the next step on this issue on financial crime?
Now, the next step, now that
apart from the
permanent
presence of...
So I think we need to look at who's financing the activities that pose threats, and then together develop the plan of action so we can deny those people access, certainly to the banking system, but also to the ability to spend money in ways that harm ordinary Cypriots. And that can mean that they would pay for people to be trafficked in, or pay for drugs, or pay terrorists to act. All of those things, like that's the next step in the cooperation. It's already happening, but now it becomes a matter of the full governments working with each other.
A big issue is also cybersecurity, and Cyprus deals a lot in the last days with this issue as well. So to this field, what new do we have? Yeah,
so I mean, the first is the information sharing is very effective. And we just received a presentation on some plans for practical cooperation between the different agencies. In the US, we have several different agencies, but one that's most important here is what we call CISA, which is the sort of computer integrity, the structural part of our internet, and they cooperate with their Cypriot counterparts. That produces real benefits for everybody who depends upon the web every day. And we'll start to see more of that behavior as we go. But just warning and allowing people to prepare is a good first step, which is part of what's happened in this last episode.
Okay. Regional security and crisis management was also part of today's discussion.
Yeah.
And you talked about the Cyclops Training Center.
Yeah.
Other practical steps the two countries will take also in view of the war in the Middle East?
Yeah. I mean, the first thing, again, is to make sure we have a similar view on what is happening. The second is to begin to address the aspects of the problem that we can.
Is it a common view you have?
I think we do share a sense. We both agree that Israel has a right to self-defense, and Cyprus is a staunch friend of Israel, which is part of why we had this cyber attack. And we believe that as well. At the same time, Cyprus has been one of the leading voices in urging an increase in humanitarian assistance, deliveries of food and medicine and other necessary goods into Gaza. And so being able to focus on those issues together means that we can do some good while the conflict continues, but we'll be well prepared for the moment the conflict ends. And that's Secretary Blinken's effort this week, is to try to bring the conflict to an end. I believe your ministers regularly engage with counterparts across the Middle East, and the special relationships that Cyprus has with Egypt, with Jordan, with Israel, with others, all allow for us to compare notes and find the right way forward. But I think those areas of security and delivery of humanitarian aid will be ones where the U.S. and Cyprus cooperate very closely.
But you also follow on the programs delivered by the Cyprus government, like Estia, for example, for the evacuation of citizens, or Amalthea for the humanitarian.
You're prodding me through all my answers so well. I think yes, no, we're really grateful for the cooperation we've had from the government of Cyprus and the people of Cyprus. We have been able to base humanitarian and relief operations. We've been able to bring American citizens to safety, not just this year, but in previous years as well, because of the help and the generosity of the people of Cyprus. And that's something a country should never forget, that kind of contribution to the well-being of citizens. So we're having ongoing conversations to see whether we may face a situation where more Americans need to come out quickly. and to make sure we have provisions made for that to happen without overwhelming the island. So all of those things are a part of the cooperation. That's why we value it so much.
I would like to ask you, please, to answer to those putting a question mark on this strategic dialogue here in Cyprus, and respond to those worries, if I can use the word.
What are they worried about?
On the outcome of this strategic, or maybe the consequences of this strategic dialogue.
You mean that somebody else will be upset about it? I think the most important thing every government does is look out for the safety and prosperity of its citizens. I think the government of Cyprus has recognized that Cyprus is a country that wants to live in a law-abiding community. As a member of the EU, that's very important to it. And as a country that has got a section of the island that is sometimes talking in terms of separating, something we don't support at all, it's a country that wants to reinforce basic norms of territorial integrity, respect for the rule of law. And the way to do that, the way to support those norms, is to work with the other states who support those norms. That is happening. It's producing tangible gains in the safety and the economic opportunity of Cypriot citizens. What this dialogue does is give us an opportunity to see where we're doing well, maybe where we could do better, and to begin building, as you said, a roadmap so that we can continue to do better. So I think people are wrong to focus on just one day, but it's a day that allows us to take stock and prepare for the future, but around decisions that I think reflect Cypriots' desire to see their country safer and more prosperous.
Okay, you bring me to my last question. Both Cyprus and the US talk about mutually beneficial agenda on this strategic dialogue. We hear a lot about the benefits for Cyprus as a country and the Cyprus people. What about the US?
Yeah, well, we care deeply about this region. We see it as a very important region for global stability. That's been the news over the last year. When things go wrong from Israel, Egypt, all the way across, you see the ripple effects in Lebanon, in Syria, in the Red Sea, in Yemen, in Iraq. It just goes all the way. And so to have a staunch friend in Cyprus gives us the opportunity to see what's happening from up close and to be a part of developing a solution. In very practical terms, I just mentioned one. When American citizens need to come to safety, they have come to Cyprus. And we are looking to make sure there's no undue burden, but the immediate response and the consistent support we get from Cyprus is a direct benefit. I think, and then you begin to add in these other ways in which we're cooperating, and now it's goes from on land and on sea, which is what the Cyclops operation is about, to in the digital sphere. So we're fighting against false and manipulated information in the digital sphere, responding to cyber attacks. No cyber attack stays within one country's boundaries. They skip. And so it's really important that we work together on this, because otherwise other countries will find the effect. If you remember, a few years ago there was a large cyber attack in Ukraine, and it ended up canceling medical appointments in the UK. So we have to work together on all of these things, and those are all things in which we receive a very concrete benefit. But really this is the virtue of living in a community and having friends, and we're really happy that we've taken this step with Cyprus to solidify the friendship more.
Okay, thank you very much.